everyone, I'm Adrija. Welcome back to my study room. In this video, we're going to start another chapter from Class 8 NCERT Science, that is Cell, Structure and Functions. Before going into the chapter, we need to know the meaning of the name of the chapter. Cell, Structure and Function. So what is cell? Our body is made up of cells. Okay, there are like millions of cells in our body. All the organ systems are made up of organs. Organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. So cells are the basic structural unit of a body, of a human body, of any animal. Okay, every plant's an animal, every living being on this planet is made up of cells. So first we're going to learn about its structure. How does it look, what is its shape, etc. And then we're going to learn about its functions, means what use it is. What use is the cells in our body. Okay, so let's get started. The basic structural unit of an organ is called the cell. So as I said that our body is made up of trillions of cells, so the basic structural unit of any organ is the cell. For example, a building, the house that you are living in, it is made up of bricks, right? The buildings are made up of bricks. In the same way, our body, a human body, is made up of cells. Okay, so bricks make up buildings and cells make up a human. Okay, they are also known as the building blocks of life. As I said, they are the building blocks, right? They make up a human body, building blocks of life. Okay, they are very minute and they can be observed with the help of a microscope. Yeah, now how do cells look like? We cannot see cells, that I said that we are made up of cells. So what is the cell? Cells are very minute, means they are very small. We cannot see the cells with our unaided eyes. Okay, so they are really small, and how can they be observed? Then how will we know that we are made up of cells? They can be observed with the help of a microscope. What is a microscope? The device that you can see over here. This is a microscope. With the help of this microscope, we can see really small objects in a very large way. Okay, so we can see cells, means the cells that are present in our body, with the help of microscope. Otherwise, we will not be able to see cells. Why? Because they are really small and they cannot be seen with our unaided eyes. Okay, now let's move to the next part. Discovery of the cell. How did we know? How was the cell discovered? Like, we cannot see the cells, right? So how was it discovered? Robert Hooke. Okay, a scientist named Robert Hooke was the first person who observed the cells under a simple magnifying device. Okay, Robert Hooke, he was the first person who observed the cells. How did he observe it? At that time, microscope wasn't there. Okay, scientists didn't invent microscope at that time. So he had a simple magnifying device that he invented, and with the help of that, he was the first person who observed cells. So what cells did he observe? As you can see in this picture, this is the thing that he observed. You can see these are cells. Okay, he took thin slices of cork and observed them under the microscope. So what is the meaning of cork? Cork is the bark of a tree. We all have seen a tree, right? So the bark of the tree, the stem, is covered by a bark, right? It is quite irregular in shape. So that is the cork. So what did he do? He took thin slices of the cork. He took a piece of the cork and sliced it. We need to have a really thin slice, otherwise we will not be able to see the cells properly. So he took thin slices of the cork, means the bark, and then observed them under his microscope. Okay, so what did he observe? He observed this. Okay, what did he observe? He observed small box-like structures. Okay, the cork was made up of really small, really minute box-like structures, as you can see, and they appear like a honeycomb. we all have seen a honeycomb, like it looks something like this. This is how a honeycomb looks like. Okay, they're hexagonal in shape. I think we all have seen a honeycomb. They're hexagonal in shape. Okay, and this is how honeycomb looks like. So what did Robert Hooke observe? He observed boxes that appeared like a honeycomb. Means it was something like this in shape. Okay, if you see it clearly in this photo, then it will also appear something like box-like structures. So this is what Robert Hooke observed. And he also observed that one box was separated from the other by a partition. Okay, so each and every box was separated from the other by a partition. The thing that we saw over here, every box is separated from the other, right, by a wall. So that is what he saw. Every box was separated from one another, okay, by a wall or a partition. So he named these small boxes cell. He was the one who coined the term cell for one box. Okay, who coined the term cell for each box. But at that time, improved microscopes weren't available, so not much was known about cell. Even after 150 years of Robert Hooke's observation of this cell, not much was known. After that, scientists invented improved microscopes, and cell of living organisms could only be observed after the discovery of improved microscopes. The cork that Robert Hooke observed had dead cells. Okay, he didn't observe living cells, they were dead. Cells are living, right? That's what makes us living. So the thing that Robert Hooke observed, these small box-like structures, these were actually dead cells of the cork. So cells of living organisms, means living cells, could only be observed after the discovery of those improved microscopes. Okay, so after that, after improved microscopes were invented, after that only we could know much about cells of living organisms. So this was the discovery of cell. How cell was discovered? First, Robert Hooke was the first person who observed the cells, and he coined the term cell for the boxes, for each boxes that he saw. They appeared like a honeycomb, and they were separated. One box was separated from the other by a wall. But not much was known after that. After 150 years, cells of living organisms could be observed. Why? Because improved microscopes were invented at that time. Okay, so this was the discovery of cell. Now we're going to move to how cells vary, means how they vary in number, how many number of cells are present in human body, suppose if we ask, and what shape they are all the cells box-like structure, and then what size they are, how small they are. Okay, so this is what we're going to learn after this. Diversity in cells, how cells varies. Okay, cells are complex in nature. Okay, they are really complex. Like they're present in different shapes. They're not only present in box-like shapes, they are present in different shapes. Yes, they are present in several numbers, shapes, and sizes. There are a lot of cells in our body, right? We will not be able to count. It is uncountable. Shapes and sizes. Yes, sizes also vary. How much small they are. Okay, and then how do scientists observe cells? Right, scientists have to observe cell to know more about them. So how do they observe cell? Yes, at first they observe cells under the microscope, and then stains are used to study the detailed structure. Stains are used. What is stains? They are dyes, means color, any kind of color. Okay, the colors are used to study the detailed structure. How can we know what is the structure of the cell? Right, we need to know what is present in the cell, what are there. So if we need to know the detailed structure, then we need to use stains, we need to use colors to see it properly. Okay, so scientists use stains to study the structure of the cell. Now let us learn how cell varies in number, it varies in shapes and sizes. So first we're going to learn about number of cells, how cells vary in number. So how many cells do you think are present in our body? In a human, for example, there are like trillions of cells. Human body has trillions of cells. Trillion means 1000 billion, And what is billion means? It means 1000 million. Okay, so you can imagine how many cells are there in a human body. Trillions means the number goes up to trillions, right? So human body has a lot of cells. It is uncountable. We are not able to count it. These cells form groups. Okay, these cells form groups. We have learned tissues, right? Cells form tissues. Okay, so these cells form groups called tissues, and they perform different functions. Alright, these cells, there are a lot of cells. Some cells form a group and they perform a function, whereas other group of cells perform another function. Okay, so this is how the functions are carried in our body with the help of cells. Now, on the basis of how many cells are there in an organism, organisms can be of two types. Okay, there are two types of organism on the basis of how many cells are there in them. Okay, what are they? Unicellular organism, multicellular organism. So what are these unicellular and multicellular organisms? So let's know what is the meaning of unicellular. Uni means one and cellular means cell. One cell. So what do we understand? That unicellular means single cell, only one cell. So the organisms that are made up of only one cell are known as unicellular organisms. Means one cell is one organism. Okay, one cell is one organism. So those organisms are known as unicellular organisms. Uni means one, cellular means cell. One cell. Okay, they are unicellular organisms. Means they are only made up of one cell. For example, amoeba, paramecium. You can see in this picture over here. This is amoeba. Okay, this is how it looks like, and one amoeba means only one cell. This is a single cell over here. Okay, one amoeba means only one cell. So amoeba is a unicellular organism because it is made up of only one cell, right? And over here paramecium. Paramecium is also a unicellular organism, means one cell. The thing that you can see is only one cell. And bacteria, we all know bacteria, right? Bacteria is also one-celled organism, unicellular organism. So these are some examples of unicellular organisms. Now the next one is multicellular organism. So what do we understand from here? Multi means many. Okay, multi means many. Uni means one, multi means many. Okay, cellular means cell. So many cell. So the organisms that are made up of many cells are known as multicellular organism. It's simple. The organisms that are made up of one cell are known as unicellular organism. The organisms that are made up of many cells, more than one cell means many. So organisms that are made up of more than one cells are known as multicellular organism. Okay. Example, plants, animals, everything. We human are multicellular. We are not made up of only one cell, right? The thing that we learned, humans have trillions of cells. So what are humans? Humans are multicellular organisms. We are made up of a lot of cells. We are made up of many cells. So it is multicellular. Humans are multicellular organisms. Plants too. Plants are also made up of cells. Plants are living beings, right? We have learned that plants also need air to live. Plants need food and water, everything. So plants are also living beings. Plants are also made up of cells. They are different. Yes, plant cells are a little different from animal cells, but still they are made up of cells. Insect, over here you can see an insect is also a living being, so it is also made up of cell. But is it made up of one cell? No, it is made up of many cells. An insect is a multicellular organism. Human being, plants. So these are some examples of multicellular organisms. So what did we learn? Human beings have trillions of cells, and organisms can be divided into two types on the basis of how many cells are present in them. Unicellular organism, multicellular organism. Okay, so this was how it varies in the number of cells. You saw how some organisms are only made up of one cell, whereas some are made up of many cells, right? In a unicellular organism, the cell performs every function that is needed in a living being. Okay, like amoeba, it digests food, right? It excretes, it reproduces, it also makes one of its own kinds, right? And then it grows. Okay, so every function that is required in a living being is performed only in one cell, okay, in an unicellular organism. In multicellular organism, I told you, they make groups to perform a single kind of function, right? For example, stomach. All the cells in a stomach will only digest food, right? They're specialized in digesting food, okay? All the cells in stomach will digest food, right? So this is how it works in a multicellular organism. Now, let's move to the next one, that is shape of cells. How organisms vary in shape. There are varieties in shape of cells too. Cells may be flat, they can be round, spherical, they can even be cylindrical, cuboidal, elongated or spindle shaped. So you can see how many types of cells can be there in only in our human body. You can see these are all human cells. Okay, in a human body, you can see all the cells are different from each other, right? They all are of different shapes. You can see this is a nerve cell. Okay, what is it? It is neuron. Okay, we call a nerve cell neuron. So you can see how a nerve cell looks and how is it different from the red blood cells. Red blood cell is RBC, means it is present in our blood. So you can see how different these two cells are. This is an intestinal cells. These cells are found in our intestine. Okay, bone cell. Our bones are made up of these type of cells. Can you imagine? And then ovum, sperm, white blood cells. There are also white blood cells in our blood. Our blood consists of red blood cells as well as white blood cells. So you can see how many types of cells are there only in our human body. So cells of course vary in shape, right? And here is an important point, that the shape of the cell depends on what function they perform. Okay, the shape of the cell depends on what function they perform. For example, nerve cell. You can see how does it look. It looks something like this. So why does it look like this? What is the function of a nerve cell? Nerve cells are found in what? Our brain, spinal cord, in our nervous system, right? In our nerves. So what is the function of nerve cell? It transfers messages, right? It transfers messages from one organ to another. So the messages are taken from here and then it is sent from here, and it goes to here, and from here it goes to another neuron. So that is why it is of this shape. Why? Because it performs a specific function, right? Transferring messages. So every cell, it depends, the shape of the cell depends on what function they perform. Alright, now this was human body. Now what happens in others? For example, amoeba. Amoeba is a unicellular organism, right? Means one cell is one organism. So amoeba has no definite shape. Amoeba has no definite shape. It is irregular in shape. It looks something like this. Okay. This is an amoeba. It has no definite shape like others. For example, our nerve cells, red blood cells, they all have a definite shape, right? But amoeba doesn't have a definite shape. It is irregular in shape. It can stay in whatever it wants. And it is an interesting fact that amoeba always keeps on changing its shape. It can even change its shape, right? Can we change our shape? No, we cannot. But amoeba can change its shape. And how does amoeba eat its food? Well, it doesn't have any mouth, right? So how will it eat its food? So what happens? We have learned this in class 7. Remember in the nutrition chapter, we learned how amoeba eats its food. So how does it eat? This is a food. Okay. So how does amoeba consume its food? Suppose this is the amoeba. Okay. Now they have this pseudopodia protruding out of their body. So what are pseudopodias? They are like this. Okay. These are pseudopodia. What is pseudopodia? Pseudopodia means false. Pseudo means false and podia means feet. I repeat, pseudo means false and podia means feet. Okay. Pseudopodia means false feet. Means they look like false feet. Okay. They are false feet of amoeba. Amoeba doesn't have feet, right? They don't have hands. They don't have feet. One cell means one organism. So how do they consume the food? This pseudopodia, they protrude out of their body. Okay, so this is how pseudopodia looks like. They protrude out and then they trap the food inside it. Okay, so this is how amoeba consumes its food. Okay, it traps its food. So we will see pseudopodia, means false feet, protruding out of its body, and then they will capture the food. So it is a benefit that amoeba is irregular in shape, right? So they can capture its food by protruding out any part of their body, right? So this is how amoeba consumes its food. There is another important point, that white blood cell. This is the white blood cell. It is present in our human body. White blood cell can also change its shape like amoeba. Okay, but white blood cell is only a cell. Right, it isn't an organism. But amoeba, one cell means one organism. It itself is an organism. But white blood cell, it is only a cell. Okay, white blood cell isn't an organism. White blood cells are present in our human body. We are the organism, human is the organism, and white blood cells are present in them. But amoeba itself is an organism. One cell is one organism. Now, can you tell me what gives shape to these cells? Like all these cells, suppose red blood cell, it is of a particular shape, right? Intestinal shape, it is also of a particular shape. So what gives its shape? It is cell membrane. There is a membrane. The thing that we learned, remember, Robert Hooke saw partition that separated one cell from another. So cell membrane separates one cell from another, and cell membrane is what gives shape to a cell. Okay, every cell consists a membrane, cell membrane. Okay, now let's move to plants. What are the shape of plant cells? Plants have a cell wall that gives shape and rigidity. Plants do have cell membrane, but they have an additional layer known as the cell wall. Plant cells are rigid, right? Plant, if you see the bark of a tree, it is quite rigid, it is quite hard. So what makes it that hard? Plant cells have an additional cell wall that makes it rigid, means hard. Okay, that protects the plant cells. Plants cannot move on their own, so it needs protection, right? So plants have cell wall that gives it shape, rigidity, and protection. We're going to learn about the cell membrane, cell wall in details in this chapter only, but afterwards. Okay, over here we are just discussing the shape of cells. So what gives the shape of cells? Cell membrane gives the shape of cells, but in plants have an additional layer after cell membrane that is known as cell wall. It gives its shape and hardness or rigidity. Okay, so this was the shape of cell, how cells vary in shape, and how the shape of a cell depends upon what type of function they perform. Okay, now let's move to the next one, that is size of cells. How much small they are, how much large they are. What is the size of a cell? Cells may be small as a millionth of a meter. 1 meter. Imagine 1 meter, and then imagine millionth. 1 millionth of a meter. Think about it, how small it is. We cannot see it. We cannot see it with our unaided eyes. How small the cells are. They may be small as millionth of meter, but they may be large as few centimeters. Okay, they can be large as few centimeters too. So cells, see how cells vary in size too. They can be small as a millionth of meter, or they can be large as few centimeters. So they are quite different, right? And these small cells, so we have to see them through the microscope, as we cannot see them. So we see them through the device known as microscope. Okay, the smallest cell. What is the smallest cell? It is 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. Micrometer means millionth of a meter. As we learned, millionth of a meter, so micrometer means 1 millionth of a meter. Okay, so smallest cell is 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. It is not even 1 micrometer. So can you imagine how small this cell will be? It is found in a bacteria. The smallest cell, 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer, it is found in a bacteria, in a certain bacteria. And the largest cell, what is the largest cell? It is 170 millimeter in diameter. It's quite large, right? 17 centimeter. So you can imagine how much large it is. So what is this largest cell? It is the egg of an ostrich. An ostrich's egg. An egg is a cell? Yes. A single egg is a single cell. The egg that the hen lays egg, right? So it is also a single cell. Okay, the cell divides into a lots of cells and it makes up a hen. but at first one egg is one cell. Okay, after that it divides and it forms a lot of cells, like trillions of cells. It forms into a organism, but before, an egg is only a single cell. So the largest egg is the egg of an ostrich. So the egg of an ostrich will also be single cell, right? So egg of an ostrich, that is 170 millimeter, means 17 centimeter in diameter. It is the largest cell. We can see it, right? This is the egg of an ostrich. Suppose this is the hand. So you can imagine how much large it is, okay? This is the hand, and over here the egg is present. So you can imagine how large the egg is. So this is how it varies in size. It can be really small, it can be large as well. Okay, now here an important point comes is that size of a cell doesn't depend upon the size of an organism. Meaning, for example, if we compare between elephant and a rat, for example, elephant is a lot bigger than rat, right? So it doesn't mean the size of cell in an elephant will be bigger than the size of cell in a rat. Okay, no, the number is bigger, the number is much larger. Means elephant will have, of course, a lot of cells, more cells than the rat, but the size doesn't, the size is the same. Okay, in a rat and elephant the size is the same. For example, nerve cell, the neuron that we saw, nerve cell, it is same in an elephant and a rat. The size of a nerve cell is same in an elephant or a rat. It is not bigger in elephant, okay, or not smaller in rat. The number depends. The number depends, the size doesn't depend. So this was the size of the cells. And in this video, we learned the discovery of cell, how cell were discovered, Robert Hooke coined the term cell, and then we learned how cells also vary in number, shape, and size. Okay, with this we come to the end of this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about the cell structure. Means what is the cell made up of? In this video we only learned about the shape, number, and sizes, right? But what are cells, what is a cell made up of? Okay, a cell is quite complex in nature. It is made up of a lot of things. So what is it's made up of, what is its uses, and all that. So don't forget to subscribe my channel if you haven't, and if you like this video, click on like button. Thank you.